Hey everyone, it's Mike Clark from Big Ham Games. Today we're going to take a look at Breakneck Derby Classic. We have a bag opening and a quick tutorial to get you started. First thing we'll show you is this awesome canvas bag with the Breakneck Derby logo screen printed on there with a carry strap so you can take it anywhere you want to go. Let's have a look at what's inside. First, we have this gorgeous game board printed on a solid piece of maple. It's 21 inches long, about 11 inches wide, and an inch thick, if you can see that. It's direct printed onto the maple, and it's got these precision drilled holes for the pegs that are going to be used for the horses that run the race. Pretty nice. Before starting play, remove the face cards from one of the two decks. Those will not be used in play, and then combine the remaining 96 cards into a single deck for Breakneck Derby. Shuffle the deck of owner's cards and deal an equal number to each player in the game. Breakneck Derby can play 1 to 10 players, so for a 3-player game, each player would play 3 horses. Any remaining horses would be run by the house. They would still be in the race, but no player would control those. Next, deal 3 playing cards to each player in the game, and then put the racehorses in their spots on the starting gate. Now you're ready to go. At the bottom of the board, you'll see these slots for 5 cards to be played to build a poker hand, which makes the horses run around the track. To start the game, just take the top card from the deck and turn it over into the number 1 space. The next step is pretty simple. The number on the card tells you which horse will move, so the 4 means that horse number 4 will run. The position in the bonus hand marked by the number 1 on the board tells you how many spaces horse number 4 will move, so this will be 1 space. And the suit tells you which lane the horse will move in. So this means that horse number 4 will move 1 space in the spade lane. So we find horse number 4, this green horse right here. We take him and we place him in the first spot past the starting line in the spade lane. Now the owner of horse number 4 plays the next card into any one of the open 4 spaces. So we'll assume that the owner of the number 4 horse decides to play the 6 of hearts into the number 5 slot of the bonus hand. So if you're following along, you know now that that means that horse number 6 will move 5 spaces in the heart lane. So we find horse number 6, that's this orange one right here, and we move him 5 spaces in the heart lane, like that. And that's how we look after 2 cards have been played. Now the owner of horse number 6 will play the next card until the bonus hand is entirely filled with number cards. Okay, we jumped ahead a little bit, so now we see the bonus hand is filled with cards. So we got 5 cards in there. Aces are horse number 1 in Breakneck Derby, just in case you're wondering. And then we can see where the horses are on the track. So we've moved the horses according to how they were played into the bonus hand. So now that this is full of number cards, we stop and we determine if there are any poker style hands that can provide bonus scoring for any of the horses. We see there are 2 4s here. We've got a 4 in the 1 slot and a 4 in the number 4 slot. So when we have 2 cards like that that match, that are not adjacent to one another in the bonus hand, we call that a trap. And a trap scores 1 point for each card trapped in between the 2 4s. So according to this, the bonus movement for horse number 4 would be 2 spaces. So that would be taken straight ahead. So horse number 4 gets 2 more spaces based on the bonus movement. So you can see while you're playing cards into the bonus hand, you want to keep in mind what sort of poker style extra scoring you can make for yourself or maybe avoid for your opponents. The rulebook has all kinds of other hands as well. So here's your trap that we just talked about. A double is a pair where 2 cards are next to each other. That scores 4. A triple scores 9. A quadruple, which you don't see often, scores 24. And then there are what we call streaks, which are essentially 3-card straights. Right? There's a 3-card straight, a 4-card straight, and a 5-card straight. And they score more depending on how many cards are in the straight. A flush, just like in poker. And then we have this other hand we call a paint, which is 5 cards of the same color, but not necessarily the same suit. So in Breakneck Derby, these bonus hands, once you get to learn them, it's pretty easy. There are some simple guides on the back of the book, so when you're playing, you can remind yourself, what the scoring is. Bonus movement in Breakneck Derby is cumulative as well. So now we're looking at the bonus hand. I've changed it a little bit. I put a 4 in that 5 slot just for this example. But in this bonus hand, we see that we've got a double for horse number 4. That's worth 4 points. But we also have our 2-card trap for these 2 cards here. It's 2 more points, so we're up to 6. And then we actually have a 3-card trap. If you look at card number 1 and card number 5, there are 3 cards between those. So when you add all that up, this is actually a 9-point bonus hand for horse number 4. So you can get some pretty big scores. So if this was actually happening in the game, horse number 4 would go ahead in 9 spaces. And off to a pretty good lead. Okay, we jumped ahead a little bit here. One thing to note about Breakneck Derby is that you don't always move your own horse when you play. So I'm sitting here and I own, in this game, horses number 1, 10, and 5. But I'm holding in my 3-card hand horses 2, 3, and 4. So none of these cards match horses that I own, but I have to play one because it's my turn. So that brings us some interesting decision making. And that brings up the idea of a block. So I'm going to take this 3 of diamonds and play it in position number 3, which would usually move horse number 3 3 spaces in that lane. But we look at the track, and here's horse number 3. And if we were to move him 3 spaces in the diamond lane, that space is already occupied by horse number 10. In that case, we call that a block in Breakneck Derby, so that move is forfeited, and horse number 3 would not get to move, although the owner would get to play the next card. So that's a nice way to slow down your opponents when you don't have any really good cards of your own in your hand. Another dirty trick I could have pulled is to play number 2 of clubs into the 3 space instead. So if we look at that, we see horse number 2 is in the inside lane, but he has to move 3 spaces into the club lane, which is on the outside. So when I pick him up and move him there, you'll see he actually moves into the turn. And you see there are these lines in between the lanes in the turn, which means that when you're in those chutes, you don't change lanes until you get to one of these spaces, the open spaces with the suits on there. So what I've done is I've pushed number 2 into this longer track halfway through that turn. So obviously, if your own horses are coming up to the turn, you want to move inside and you want to push your opponents outside as much as possible. Face cards have special powers in Breakneck Derby, so let's go through that really quick. If you play a king into the bonus hand, that means that you move any one horse of your choice. So it's usually one that you own. So this means that the player who played that king could move any horse that he wants 5 spaces. As an extra bonus, if your horse happens to be in the same lane as the king's suit, the heart lane in this case, you double the movement. So if I was horse number 1 in the heart lane, that card would actually score me 10. So I would move this horse 10 spaces. Like that. It's a pretty big play. When a queen is played, every horse in the lane matching the queen moves. So in this case, every horse in the heart lane would move ahead 5 spaces. So looking at the track, we see that horse number 9 is in the heart lane. Horse number 1 is also there. And back here we have horse number 6. We can't forget about him as well. The jack is a fun card. It's kind of the opposite of a king. Instead of moving one horse of your choice, when you play a jack, you move every horse on the track except one of your choice. That horse is jacked. So usually when you play this, it's the lead horse, unless you own it, that does not move. So in this case, every horse on the track except number 9 would get to move ahead 5 spaces when that card is played. And finally, the joker is a card that you can play in any slot in the bonus hand, even if it's got a number card in it already. So when I play like that, that essentially wipes out the card that's been previously played. So it's kind of a defensive card that can eliminate bonus hands that your opponents might be building for extra scoring. Play continues in this fashion until the horses make one lap around this big track. Races are usually pretty tight because there's a natural balancing as players team up to slow down faster horses and move the slower ones forward. So you usually get pretty competitive home stretch drives. Here we see then finally somebody will play a card, whether they want to or not, that moves a horse across the finish line. We got number 10, and number 10 would move 4 spaces in the diamond lane, and that would be enough. We have our champion, number 10. So you can stop when one horse finishes. Sometimes we play win, place, show, especially if you're betting, which I can't condone or discourage, and then you can crown your Breakneck Derby champion. Breakneck Derby is a great family game. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play most games. If you can count to 5 and you know a little bit about poker, you can learn really quickly how to play. There's easy guides within the game as well. And it just looks good sitting on the table, so it's kind of a conversation piece. If you want to learn more, check us out on Instagram at Bigham Games or email us at bighamgames@gmail.com. So if you like what you're seeing with Breakneck Derby, but this seems a little bit out of your price range, we also have the newly released Breakneck Derby Pizza Box Edition. So we have it smaller, same great gameplay, but much lower price point if you're interested in that. Thanks for watching.